Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2 Multiple Choice Extended, held on February-March 2019 and paper code is 0625 with variant 22. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. Which row shows the best choice of measuring instrument to obtain accurate values for the distances shown? First of all, here is diameter of wire, height of the bench and length of the laboratory. Option A, measuring tape, micrometer screw gauge. B, meter rule, micrometer screw gauge, measuring tape. C, micrometer screw gauge, measuring tape and meter rule. D, micrometer screw gauge, meter rule and measuring tape. When we have to measure the diameter of the wire, we measure the screw gauge. I write here for the measurement of the height, we use meter rule. And for the length of laboratory, the measuring tape is used. So from here, option D is correct, which shows the same sequence as I write above. Question number 2. An object is moving with a uniform deceleration. Which statement describes its motion? Option A, its rate of change of speed is decreasing. B, the speed is constant. C, its speed is decreasing. D, the speed is increasing. So first of all, here is uniform deceleration. It means that speed is decreasing. In the option A, it is given that the rate of change of speed, which is known as acceleration. Here it says that acceleration is decreasing, which is not correct. The speed is not constant, so B is also incorrect. C option is correct, which shows that the speed is decreasing. So I circle C. Question number 3. The graph shows how the speed of the car varies during part of its journey. Here is a speed time graph. What is the value of the car's acceleration between 6 seconds and 10 seconds? Here two times are given, 6 seconds and 10 seconds, and we have to find out the value of acceleration of the car. So here 6 seconds is at this point and 10 seconds is here. We have to find out their corresponding speed values from the graph. First of all, I use ruler and draw the lines. From here we can see that at 6 seconds, the speed is 10 meter per second. And at time 10 seconds, the speed is 15 meter per second. The slope of the speed time graph is basically equal to acceleration. So I write here acceleration is equal to slope of speed time graph. Slope will be equal to delta V over delta T, which is V2 minus V1 over T2 minus T1. So acceleration value will be 15 minus 10 divided by 10 minus 6. Acceleration is 1.25 meter per second square. We see from here option C is correct. Question number 4. The gravitational field strength on the moon is less than on the earth. It is given that the value of G on the surface of moon is smaller as compared to the earth. Which of these is different when done on the moon compared with when done on the earth? So what is the difference in reading on the moon and on the earth? Option A. The gravitational potential energy gained by the stone lifted through the same vertical height. B. The kinetic energy gained by the ball when hit with the same force for the same period of time. C. The momentum gained by the bullet when fired from the same gun. D. The work done in accelerating a stone from the rest to the same speed. So first of all, gravitational potential energy is equal to mgh. Here is the factor of G, which is the gravitational field strength. It is given in the statement that the gravitational field strength on the moon and earth is different. On the moon, the value of G is smaller as compared to the earth. So, when the value of G changes, then the gravitational potential energy will be changed on the moon and on the earth. So from here option A is correct. Question number 5. The mass of a full bottle of cooking oil is 1.30 kilogram. When exactly half of the oil has been used, the mass of the bottle plus the remaining oil is 0.90 kilogram. What is the mass of the empty bottle? Here we have to find out the mass of the empty bottle. First of all, the mass of the full bottle is given. Bottle plus cooking oil, which is 1.30 kilogram. I write here mass of full bottle 1.30 kilogram. Then the mass of the half bottle is given, which is 0.90 kilogram. So from here, remaining mass will be equal to 1.30 minus 0.90. So it is equal to 0.40 kilogram. But we have to find out the mass of the empty bottle. So the mass of empty bottle it is equal to 0.90 minus 0.40, which is equal to 0.50 kilogram. So from here option B is correct. Question number 6. A solid ball has a volume of 4.0 cubic centimeter. The density of the ball is 1.6 gram per cubic centimeter. What is the mass of the ball? So here we have to find out the mass of the ball when the density and volume is given. I use here density is equal to mass over volume, and mass is equal to density multiplied by volume. Density is 1.6 multiplied by volume is 4.0. So mass will be equal to 6.4 gram. Here option D is correct. Question number 7. The extension load graph for a spring is shown. The unstretched length of the spring is 15.0 centimeter. Here is extension load graph, and extension is along y-axis while the load is x-axis. When an object of unknown weight is suspended on the spring, The length of the spring is 16.4 centimeter. So this length is basically the stretched length. I write here stretched length. What is the weight of the object? So here we have to find out the weight of the object. First of all, I find out the slope of this graph. I take any 2 points on this curve and then find out slope. I suppose that the points are this one and this. Now slope will be equal to delta y over delta x. First of all, I join these points with the axis and find out the value of the extension and load. Now the slope will be equal to the value on y-axis, which is 2, and here is 0.8. So 2 minus 0.8 divided by 5 minus 2. Then slope is 0.4 centimeter over Newton. According to Hooke's law, F is equal to Kx, where F is force or load and x is extension. K is spring constant and it is equal to F over x. We see its unit. Here is Newton and centimeter. Now we compare this equation, the unit of K, with the slope. The unit in the slope is centimeter per Newton, while in the spring constant Newton per centimeter is the unit. So we just reciprocal the slope in order to find out the value of K. So K will be equal to 1 over 0.4, which is equal to 2.5 Newton per centimeter. We also find out the extension, which is extended length 16.4 centimeter minus original length, which is 15 centimeter. So the extension will be equal to 1.4 centimeter. Now I use the Hooke's law and find out the value of F. F is equal to Kx, the value of spring constant that we calculate here, 2.5 multiplied by x, which is extension 1.4. So F will be equal to 3.5 Newton. This is basically the value of weight. So I write here weight is also equal to 3.5 Newton. From here, option C is correct, which shows the weight value 3.5 Newton. Question number 8. An object of mass 2.0 kg is pulled across the floor by a force of 6.0 Newton. The frictional force acting on the box is 1.0 Newton. What is the acceleration of the box? So here we have to find out the acceleration of the box when two forces are given. If I suppose that here is box and the applied force is in this direction, which is 6.0 Newton, the frictional force will be in opposite direction and its magnitude is given 1.0 Newton. So net force will be equal to 6.0 minus 1. Because both of these are in opposite direction, that's why I subtract these forces and it is equal to 5.0 Newton. Here I use Newton's law, F is equal to ma, but no, this force is net force. So A will be equal to net force divided by m. 5.0 divided by 2.0, which is equal to 2.5. The unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So acceleration is equal to 2.5 meter per second square. B option is correct. Question number 9. Which moving body has a resultant force acting on it? A diver rising vertically through water at constant speed. Here the diver is rising vertically. The force will be 0 because its speed is constant. So upward forces must be equal to downward forces. B. An aircraft circling an airport at constant speed. When a body moves into the circular path, there is a force that is acting towards the center. So this force is basically central force. In the case of aircraft circling an airport at constant speed, the net force is not equal to 0. So option B is correct. Question number 10. A constant force acts on body, causing the momentum of body to increase. Which expression relates the force to the momentum and the time taken? So here we have to relate the force with the momentum and time taken. I write here momentum. It is the product of mass and velocity. According to Newton's law, applied force will be equal to time rate of change of momentum. So it will be delta P over T. So F cross T is equal to delta P. This is the expression that is relating the force with time and change of momentum. We see the options. Option A, force is equal to change in momentum over time taken. So this formula is basically force is equal to del P over T. So option A is correct. Option B is incorrect because here is only momentum, not the change of momentum. C is also incorrect because here is the multiplication of change in momentum and time taken. And D is also correct because of the multiplication and also just before of the momentum, not the change of momentum. Question number 11. A car of mass 1500 kg has a speed of 20 meter per second. It accelerates until its speed is 25 meter per second. What is the increase in kinetic energy of the car? Here we have to find out the increase in kinetic energy of the car. We know that kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. But here we have to find out change in kinetic energy. So the formula modifies like 1 over 2 m v square minus u square. V square minus u square is basically the change in speed. V is final and u is initial. Now I am going to put values here. so that the value of change in kinetic energy will be equal to 170 kilojoule. From here, option C is correct. Question number 12. Which source of energy uses the production of steam to generate electrical energy? Option A, hydroelectric, B, nuclear, C, tides, D, waves. So this is nuclear energy that uses the steam to generate electrical energy. So option B is correct. Question number 13. A car traveling on a straight horizontal road has 1.6 megajoule of kinetic energy. It accelerates for 20 seconds until it has 2.5 megajoule of kinetic energy. What is the average power output used to increase the kinetic energy of the car? So in this case, the average power output will be equal to increase in kinetic energy divided by time. First of all, change in kinetic energy, it will be equal to final kinetic energy minus initial, which is 2.5 minus 1.6. It is equal to 0.9 megajoule. Time is also given 20 seconds. So power will be equal to change in kinetic energy divided by time. 0.9. This mega is basically 10 की power 6. Time is 20. So power will be equal to 45,000 watt, which is also equal to 45 kilowatt. So from here option C is correct. Question number 14. Which diagram shows an athlete exerting least pressure on the ground? We know that pressure is equal to force over area. Pressure is inversely proportional to area. When the area is larger, pressure will be smaller, and when the area is smaller, pressure will be larger. Here we have to show the diagram in which the athlete exerting least pressure. So pressure will be least only when the area is larger. So this is B, where the athlete is lying horizontally. So his area increases. When the area is larger, pressure for him will be smaller. So option B is correct. Question number 15. The diagram shows the U-tube manometer containing 3 liquids: mercury, liquid X and liquid Y. Neither liquid X or liquid Y mixes with mercury. So here is liquid X and Y and mercury. All of these are separated from each other. Which row compares the pressure exerted by the liquid X and by the liquid Y on the mercury, and the density of the liquid X and the density of liquid Y? So here we have to compare the pressure and densities of the liquid X and Y. First of all, according to Pascal law, I write here Pascal's law. According to this law, the pressure of liquid at all the points on the same plane is equal. It means that the pressure at point X and at the point Y must be equal. I suppose the point X is here and point Y is here. I can simply say that the pressure due to the liquid X will be equal to the pressure due to the liquid Y. So Px will be equal to Py. Pressure for both of the liquids are equal. Next we have to compare the density of the liquid. We know that the pressure of the air column of fluid is equal to P naught plus rho GH. I write this equation for liquid X and Y. So here P naught plus rho X G HX. It will be equal to P naught plus density of liquid Y G H of Y. P naught for both of these are equal, so these cancels, and also the value of G is same. So I write density for liquid X and depth for liquid X, or height of the liquid X, will be equal to density for Y and height for the Y. Now I am going to rearrange this equation. So the density is inversely proportional to the height from this equation. We see the diagram that the height of the liquid X is larger. The height of liquid X is this, while for the Y the height is this. From here, the height of the liquid X is larger as compared to the height of the liquid Y. And the density is inversely proportional to the height, so the density for the Y will be larger as compared to the density for the X. Now we see the option. Option A, pressure exerted by the X and Y on the mercury is given. Densities of X and Y. Option A, the pressure of X is greater, pressure is equal, so option A is incorrect. B, the pressure of Y is greater, this is also incorrect. C, the pressure of the X and Y is same, this statement is correct. The density of the X is greater than Y. We see here the density of Y is greater as compared to X. So option C is also incorrect. Option D, the pressure of the X and Y is same. The density of Y is greater than X. So from here, option D is correct. Question number 16. Gas molecules exert pressure when they collide with the walls of container. Which statement is correct? A, they experience a change in force which exert a pressure equal to momentum multiplied by area of the wall. Option B, they experience a change in force which exert a pressure equal to momentum over area on the wall. C, they experience a change in momentum which exert a pressure equal to force multiplied by area on the wall. D, they experience a change in momentum which exert a pressure equal to force over area on the wall. So from here, option D is correct because pressure is equal to force over area. Gas molecule experience a change in momentum which exert the pressure, and the formula of pressure is force per unit area, which is given in the D option. In the A, pressure is equal to momentum multiplied by area. This formula is incorrect. Also B, pressure is not equal to momentum over area. So this is incorrect. C is also incorrect because pressure is not equal to the multiplication of force and area. Only the D option is correct. Question number 17. A thermometer has graduations which starts at -10 degree C and end at 110 degree C. what is the lower fixed point and what is the upper fixed point of the Celsius scale? Lower fixed point and upper fixed point values are given. Option A, -10, 100, B, -10, 110, C, 0 and 100, D, 0 and 110. So the value of the fixed point, that is lower and upper fixed point for the Celsius scale, is 0 and 100 degrees C. So option C is correct. Question number 18. A 1 kilogram block of aluminium requires more thermal energy to raise its temperature by 1 degree C than 1 kilogram block of the copper requires. Why is this? A. Aluminium is better conductor of thermal energy than copper. B. Aluminium is poor conductor of the thermal energy than copper. C. Aluminium has a higher specific heat capacity than copper. D. Aluminium has a lower specific heat capacity than the copper. So first of all, we know that E is equal to mc delta T. Here m is the mass, C is specific heat capacity and delta T is change in temperature or rise in temperature. So energy is basically proportional to C, which means that when the specific heat capacity is higher, then the energy should be higher. Both of these are directly proportional to each other. Now the statement is given that the mass of the blocks are equal, which is 1 kilogram. Aluminium requires more thermal energy than the block of copper. This is due to the reason that the specific heat capacity for the aluminium is larger as compared to the specific heat capacity for the copper. So from here, option C is correct. Aluminium has a higher specific heat capacity than the copper. Question number 19. 4 campers are warming their food on fire. They use different rods, each of the same dimensions, to hold their food near the fire. Which material is best choice to prevent their hands from getting too hot? Here we have to prevent the flow of heat. So the material should be insulator. Option A, aluminium. B, copper. C, steel. D, wood. So this material should be wood because wood is the insulator. So option D is correct. Question number 20. 2 metal cans are identical except that one has a shiny silver outer surface and the other has dull black outer surface. They each have 300 grams of water at 80 degrees C sealed inside them. They are both in vacuum in the darkness of the outer space. How does the temperature of the water in each one change? So how the temperature changes? Option A, neither one will cool down. B, water in the black can cools more slowly than the water in the shiny can. C, the water in the shiny can cools more slowly than that in the black can. D, they both cools down at the same rate. So first of all, there are 2 colors, dull black and other is shiny silver. Dull black color is good absorber as well as reflector as compared to the shiny silver. So, the change in temperature for the black can should be rapidly as compared to that of the shiny can. So here temperature should be larger. But for the shiny silver, the temperature change should be small. Now we see the options. Option B shows that water in the black can cools more slowly. So this is incorrect because the rise in temperature for the dull black surface is larger. Option C, the water in the shiny can cools more slowly than that in the black can. So this is correct because of the temperature of shiny silver can is smaller. Question number 21. The diagram shows a wave before it reflects from a barrier. Which labeled section of the diagram represents a wave front? 4 points are shown here: A, B, C and D. B is basically the distance between two wave fronts, which is equal to wavelength. A shows the direction of travel of this wave. C basically shows the wave front. These lines are wave fronts, and D is the barrier. So C option is correct. Question number 22. A vibrating object produces ripple on the surface of a liquid. The object completes 20 vibrations every second. So this is basically the frequency, which is 20 Hertz. Because the total number of vibrations completed in 1 second is basically frequency. The spacing of the ripples from one crust to the next is 3.0 centimeter. So first of all, I consider wave. The upper portion of this line is crust, while the lower portion is trough. Here is given that the spacing of the ripples from one crust to the next. If I suppose the first crust here, next will be here. This distance is basically equal to 3.0 centimeter. Also we know that the distance between two consecutive crusts or two consecutive troughs is basically equal to wavelength. So here wavelength will be equal to 3.0 centimeter. I use wave equation V is equal to F lambda. We have to find out the speed of the ripple. So V will be equal to 20 multiplied by 3.0, which is 60. The unit should be centimeter per second. So from here option C is correct. Question number 23. A narrow beam of light is traveling through a transparent liquid. It meets the surface as shown at an angle of incidence of 40 degrees. The refractive index of the liquid is 1.5. What is the angle of refraction as the light enters the air? So here we have to find out the angle of refraction. Here I use the Snell's law, that in the liquid and here in the air, N1 sin theta 1 is equal to N2 sin theta 2. Theta 1 is basically the angle of incidence and N1 is the refractive index of the liquid, which is given 1.5. So 1.5 multiplied by sin of 40 degree, it will be equal to N2, which is the refractive index of air, and it is equal to 1. Sin theta 2. Theta 2 is basically the angle of refraction. So I write here theta r. Theta r will be equal to sin inverse of 1.5 multiplied by sin of 40 degree. So angle of refraction will be equal to sin inverse of 0.963, which is equal to 75 degree. So from here option D is correct. Question number 24. Which diagram correctly represents the ray of light passing through a converging lens in the camera? So first of all, here are 4 diagrams. We see in the option A, the image is lying at this position and it is smaller in size as compared to object. The image is also inverted. In the option B, we see that the size of the image and size of object is same, and also the orientation of the object and image is same. This is not possible. So option B is incorrect. C, here again the object is inverted but the size of object is larger. So this is also incorrect. D, the image is formed but the size of image is smaller, and also the object and image both are of same orientation. So this is also incorrect. The image formed by the camera is basically diminished, inverted. So only option A is correct. Question number 25. What is the speed of the X-rays in the vacuum and in the air? In the vacuum, in air, as the X-rays are electromagnetic rays, they move with the speed of light. The speed of light is 3.0 into 10 की power 8 meter per second. So both in air and in vacuum, the speed of X-ray will be equal to the speed of light. Now we see the options. Option A, 3.0 into 10 की power 6 and 2.0 into 10 की power 6. Though this option is incorrect. B, 3.0 into 10 की power 6 due to 10 की power 6. This option is also incorrect. C, 3.0 into 10 की power 8 meter per second and 2.0. So this is also incorrect. D, both of these speeds are in vacuum and in air is 3.0 into 10 की power 8 meter per second. So option D is correct. Question number 26. A sound wave passes a point. The air pressure at that point increases and then decreases 300 times every second. Which description apply to this sound wave? So here the pressure increases and decreases every second 300 times. So this is basically the frequency, which is 300 Hz. Now we see the options. The type of the wave motion, the frequency of the sound wave. Option A, longitudinal, outside human hearing range. B, longitudinal, within the human hearing range. C, transverse, outside the human hearing range. D, transverse and within human hearing range. So first of all, here are sound waves. Sound waves are longitudinal. So here option A or B may be correct. Next, the frequency is 300 Hz. The human ear can respond to frequency ranges from 20 to 20,000 Hz. So 300 lies in this range. So the frequency will be within the human hearing range. This option is correct, which is B. Question number 27. A boy stands 150 meters from the wall. He claps and when he hears the echo, he immediately claps again. He continues this for some time. Another student has a stopwatch. She starts the watch on the first clap and stops it on the 11th clap. The watch reads 10.0 seconds. Which value do her measurements give for the speed of sound in air? So first of all, the time for 11 claps is given. So the time for the first clap, when the boy clap and then at the same time the another student starts the stopwatch, and then if I suppose that this student stops the stopwatch at the second clap, then the time should be 1 second. It means that the time for the one clap is 1 second. The distance is given, which is 150 meter. Here is basically the phenomena of echo. First of all, this sound wave travel and then come back. So the total distance will be equal to 300. I use here formula V is equal to 2D over T, where D is the distance, which is 150 meter, and 2D is basically 300 meter. So I write here 2 multiplied by 150 divided by 1. So V will be equal to 300 meter per second. From here, option C is correct. Question number 28. The ends of 3 metal rods are tested by holding end Q of one rod close to the another in turn. So there are 3 rods, rod 1, 2 and 3. The results are follows: end Q attract and R, end Q attract and S, end Q attract and T, end Q repel and U. Which of the metal rod is a magnet? A. Rod 1 only. B. Rod 1 and rod 2. C. Rod 1 and rod 3. D. Rod 3 only. So first of all, it is given that the end Q attract the end R. The bar magnet has 2 poles, south and north. The similar poles of the magnet repel each other, while the opposite poles attract each other. Here it is given that the end Q attract and R. It means that Q and R are opposite pole. So if I suppose that Q is south, I write here as, then it attract the R. The R should be north. And Q attract S. So this Q also attract S. It means the S should be north, because the opposite attract each other. So we see the rod 2 that both of the poles are north. So this is not magnet. For a magnet, there should be one north and south pole. Now the next statement is that end Q attract the end T. If I suppose that this end T is north because the Q is south, the end Q repel U. So the end Q repel the U. It means that the U should be south. Now we see here, one is south and other is north. These are opposite faces, so it should be the magnet because it contains both poles, as the Q and attract or repel the other. So the rod 1 is also the magnet. Rod 1 and 3 are magnets, while the rod 2 is not magnet. Now we see the statements. Statement C shows that rod 1 and rod 3 are magnet. So C is correct. Question number 29. A metal sphere is charged by induction. There are 4 stages W, X, Y and Z in the process. W. A charged rod is brought near to the sphere. X. The sphere is earth. Y. The charged rod is taken away from the sphere. Z. The earth connection is removed. Which order are the 4 stages carried out? So here we just have to write the order. First of all, we charge the rod by bringing it near to the sphere. So here will be W. Next, there will be the sphere, that is earth. So there will be X. After that, we remove the earth connection. So here will be Z, and at the end the charged rod is taken away from the sphere. So here will be Y. Now we see this sequence, it is given in B. So option B is correct. Question number 30. Which electrical quantity is defined in terms of the energy supplied in driving charge around a complete circuit? Option A, current. B, electromotive force. C, potential difference. D, power. So this is basically the electromotive force, which is equal to energy supplied to the charges. So from here, option B is correct. Question number 31. A student sets up a circuit containing a battery of 2 cells and the 3 lamps as shown. So there are 2 cells and the 3 lamps that are connected in series and parallel combination. What is the circuit containing for this arrangement? In this diagram, we can see that both of the cells are connected in series. In the circuit, they would be like that. This is negative, positive, negative, positive. Next, there is a lamp. I suppose this lamp, this is 1, 2 and 3. The lamp 1 and 2, these are connected in series. And the lamp 3 is connected in parallel with lamp 2. It means that the 2 lamps are in series and the third lamp is in parallel combination with one of these lamps. Now we see the diagrams. In the option A, the battery is shown here and there are 3 lamps. This lamp and this. Both of these are connected in series and the third lamp is connected in parallel with the first lamp. So this circuit is correct. Option A is correct. We see B. The 2 lamps are shown that are in series and the third is connected in the parallel with the series combination. So this is incorrect. In C, all of these 3 lamps are connected parallel, which is also incorrect. In the D, all of these lamps are connected in series. So D option is also incorrect. Only option A is correct. Question number 32. In which circuit does the lamp light? Only those circuit the lamp light in which all of the diodes are connected in forward bias. We see the option A. Here are 3 diodes. This is positive and this is negative, positive, negative. This side of the diode is positive and this is negative. Again this is negative, positive. If I suppose that the current flows in this direction, then the positive terminal is attached with the positive current flow through this diode. But this current is blocked by the other diode because of this negative side. So the current cannot flow in this circuit. Option A is incorrect. We see B. This is positive, negative. It is negative and positive. This is also negative, positive. So when the current flows here, this is positive terminal and this is negative. The current cannot pass through this diode. Also here is negative. So the current cannot pass through this diode. So this is also incorrect. We see in the C option that this is positive, negative. I suppose current flows in this direction. The positive is connected with the positive. The current flows here. But the negative is also connected with the negative. Current also flow here. Option C is correct. This is the correct diagram. We also check D. Here this is positive, negative. The positive terminal of the diode is connected with the negative. So this diode is reverse bias. due to which there is no current across the circuit. So D is also incorrect. Question number 33. Each potential divider is placed in a circuit with a power supply. Which potential divider makes the potential difference across the component Y increase when the light intensity increase? So first of all, we see the option A. Here X component is basically light dependent resistor. When the light falls on the LDR, then resistance decrease. In the dark, the resistance of the LDR is high. If the light is bright, the resistance should be low. If the light intensity is high, then the resistance across the X component should be low, and if the intensity is low, the resistance across the X component should be high. So if I consider this LDR and the light that is falling on it, if the intensity of this light is high, then the resistance across this component should be low. The resistance should be low. Also, the potential difference is low because it's a potential divider. So R1 over R2 basically equal to V1 over V2, due to which by decreasing the resistance, the potential difference also decrease. Now if the potential difference across the X component is low, then there is also the component Y that is attached here. The potential difference across this component will be high. Here will be potential difference high because both of these components are connected in series. So in the option A, the potential difference across the Y component is high if the light intensity is high. So only option A is correct. Question number 34. There are two inputs to the combination of logic gates shown and one output. Input 1 and input 2, and there is a single output. Which truth table represents the action of this combination of gate? So first of all, in this diagram we can see that this gate is NAND gate and this is NOT gate. Here I consider the different combinations of the input and find out the value of output. So first of all, I suppose the inputs are 0, 0. When I apply NAND gate, here will be output 1. And when I apply NOT gate over 1, the output should be 0. It means that 0, 0 combination gives output 0. Next, suppose that the input is 1 and 0. Then 1 and 0 when combined by the NAND gate, here will be 1. And when I apply NOT gate, here will be 0. It means that 1 and 0 gives 0. Then I consider 0, 1. When the 0, 1 combines by NAND gate, it gives 1. And when I apply NOT gate, here will be 0. It means that 0 and 1 gives 0. Last one combination is 1 and 1. When the both of these inputs are high, the output of the NAND gate should be 0. When I apply NOT gate here, it changes into 1. It means that 1, 1 gives 1. So we see the tables here. Only in the table 1, the inputs and outputs match. So option A is correct. Option B is correct because of these three high output, there is only one high output. And also C is incorrect because of these three high output. D is also incorrect because the output is high only when both of the inputs are high. So this is also incorrect. Question number 35. The current in a kettle is 10 ampere and the kettle is protected by a 13 ampere fuse. The owner of the kettle replaces the 13 ampere fuse with 3 ampere fuse. What happens when the kettle is switched on? So first of all, the current that is passing through the kettle, it is 10 ampere. And the fuse rating, first of all, it is 13. Then the owner replaces 13 ampere fuse with 3 ampere fuse. When the fuse rating is 3 ampere, then 10 is larger as compared to 3. The current passing through the kettle is larger as compared to the fuse rating. Then the fuse melt. Now we see the options. Option A, the fuse melt and the kettle might be damaged. So this is incorrect. B, the fuse melt and the kettle is undamaged. So this is correct because the fuse melt here but the kettle is undamaged. C, the fuse does not melt. This is incorrect. D, the fuse does not melt. So this is also incorrect. Only correct option is B. Question number 36. Which statement about the direction of the magnetic field at a point is correct? So which one of the statement is correct? Option A, it is the direction of the force on a north pole placed at that point. B, it is the direction of the force on the south pole placed at that point. C, it is the direction of the force on the positive charge placed at that point. D, it is the direction of the force acting on the negative charge placed at that point. So first of all, magnetic field has two poles, north and south. There is no charges, so C and D are incorrect. Now the direction of the magnetic field is from north pole to south pole. It means that the direction of the magnetic field will be in the direction of force on the north pole placed at that point. So option A is correct. Question number 36. A current carrying coil is placed in a magnetic field. So there is the coil which is placed in the magnetic field and the current is passing through this coil. Which effect does the coil experience? A, change in shape. B, change in weight. C, resultant force. D, turning effect. First of all, let's suppose that the current is passing through this coil. On the left hand side of this coil, the current is upward direction, while on the right hand side, the current must be in downward direction. So here the direction of the current is changes. There must be two forces that is acting on this coil, on the left hand side and on the right hand side. So when I apply right hand rule here, I have to rotate the fingers of my right hand from the direction of current towards the direction of magnetic field. Then my thumb will point out the direction of the force. In the case of left hand side, the force will be inward, while in the case of right hand side, the force will be outward. So both of these forces are equal but in opposite direction. This forms the torque here. So there will be the turning effect. Only there is the change in turning effect. So option D is correct. Question number 38. What are isotopes of an element? Isotopes are the element that has same atomic number but different atomic mass. Option A, atoms of different elements with a different number of neutrons. B, atoms of different element with a different number of protons. C, the atoms of the same element with a different number of neutrons. D. The atoms of the same element with a different number of protons. So isotopes have same atomic number. It means that the number of protons should be same. And these are the atoms of the same element. So option C is correct, because the number of neutrons are different. Isotopes have different mass number. Question number 39. A radioactive isotope of carbon-14 decays by beta emission to a given isotope of nitrogen-14 and beta particle. The equation for the reaction is given. What is the value of the x and y? Here we have to find out the value of x and y. First of all, we know that beta particles are just like electron. 0 and -1. It means that y is equal to -1. Next, we also have to find out the value of x. Now we compare the atomic number on both sides of this arrow. On the left hand side, atomic number is x, while on the right hand side it is 7 and -1. So it will be equal to 6. It means that x is equal to 6 and y is equal to -1. So from here, option A correctly shows these values. X is equal to 6 and y is equal to -1. So A is correct. Question number 40. A beta particle is fast moving electron. Which statement explains how the beta particles are emitted from an atom? Option A. The electron is emitted as beta particle from an inner electron shell of the atom. B. The electron is emitted as a beta particle from an outer electron shell of an atom. C. The neutron changes into the proton and the beta particle is emitted from the nucleus. D. The proton changes into neutron and the beta particle is emitted from the nucleus. So first of all, I consider here is neutron. It changes into proton and then there should be the emission of electrons from the nucleus. So from here, option C is correct. D option is also incorrect.